Hi students, welcome to our first video on TinkerCAD. The goal of today's video is to give you a basic introduction to the TinkerCAD software, and we're going to be doing that by showing you how to build a couple of ring designs. You'll be doing this in class as well, and then you'll be 3D printing those rings to test how good your design was. So TinkerCAD is a computer-aided design software, or CAD. The reason we use a CAD program is not only is it a really efficient way to design, a really accurate way, which can be edited and shared at any time, you can also, from a CAD software, export your design to be 3D printed, which is really important for us in this project. So have a look at the two designs that we're going to make today. We've got the cat ring, which we here, and we've got, which is really simple. It's probably only about 5 features to build that ring, which I'll show you soon. And then we've got this one, which is a bit more complicated. It's sort of got this wave shape here, and the hole in the center is a little bit more offset. Two things that I really want to point out before we start about TinkerCAD is first, this grid-like space here. We call this the work plane. And the second one here, the navigation box. So I can use that to move around the screen, which is really important. I just click and drag on that box. But if I want to move to a particular view, I can just click on the top there. So really important, the navigation box up there. Okay, over here we have the basic shapes, and that's how TinkerCAD works. It gives you some basic shapes to help you build up whatever your design is. And any of these shapes can be edited at any time. Now, to build the ring, there are some features down the bottom which can give you the basic shape, but because this is a STEM class and we're being engineers here in our design, we're going to use the cylinder tool because that gives us a few more features on the measurements or the dimensions which we're going to need. So the first thing I want you to do is just grab the first cylinder and drag it out onto the screen. So there we go, that's all we need. You can see it's a similar shape, but it's looking a bit big at the moment. So you can see here we've got these little boxes, and when I put my mouse over there, it will give us the value, the dimension or the measurement of what that shape is. So there's the height, and it's saying 20 millimeters. So I've just clicked there. I'm going to click in this box. We don't want our ring to be 20 millimeters high, so I'm going to change that to just 5. Looking a lot better. The outside diameter, let's see what we've got here. I'll just move that up. It's saying it's 20. Now, I've already measured my finger, as you will in class, and I know that my ring needs to be 21 millimeters in diameter. So again, we just click on the corner. I'm going to type 21 and enter. We have to do this for each side. So click in there, 21 and enter, and I've got the shape that I need. And I can just drag that over here if I want now, no problems. We've got some more details that we can change for the shape up here. So if I just click there, I can see that I can change the color. And here's the hole feature, which I'll go into later. But we also have the side. So if I'm to zoom in there, you can see that edge is made up of flat faces. Now we're going to be 3D printing this ring, so we want it to be as detailed as possible. So I'm going to move the sides way up, and it just gives us a more detailed cylinder, which is what we want. So excellent, first step done. Now what I'm going to do now is place another cylinder in the center of this circle, and that is going to act as our hole in the middle. So first we put in the cylinder, and then we'll subtract that shape from there. So dragging it out, and you can tell straight away that that's way too big again. So let me just take a second to just pan that to the center of the screen. I'll move the sides up as well. So again, I'll change this to 5. But this time, clicked on the corner, this time I'm going to be taking it to 17. So let me just complete that. And that's in the middle, and we need to change it to a hole because we want this shape to be subtracted from the red shape. So change it to a hole. Any shape can be changed to a hole at any time. So we change it there again. Now I've got to move it to the middle, and I want to get the perfect view to move it to the middle of the ring. So over here, remember our navigation box? I'm just going to select there. And you can see that it feels like we're not quite on the top. It's just because the perspective view is on, which means it's angling away to the horizon. So, and that looks a bit better, doesn't it? Okay, so just pan to the center. Okay, so to move it, we just select our shape, and I'm going to start using the arrow keys on my keyboard, and you can see that I can start moving it around. Now, if you're finding that it's not quite getting into center, have a look down here. It says snap grid 1 millimeter. That means every time I move my mouse, it's going to be moving 1 millimeter. Now, remember, we're being as accurate as we can here in our STEM class, so I'm going to change that to 0.25 or quarter of a millimeter for every mouse click. And you can see automatically that those little movements that it's doing each time I hit the arrow key are a lot smaller. So that's a real, so two features there I showed. Turning off the perspective so you can get a good view of what you're doing, and changing the snap grid to a smaller value. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So now I want to subtract those two shapes together. So I need to select both. So there I've selected one. If I put my finger on the shift key, I can select both of them. Another trick to do is just to draw a square over both like that. Now, up here, this is a really important feature. It's called group. I want to group those two together. And I hit group, and there we go. We have our ring. So you can see we're a long way to making that cat ring shape. Now, if I just go over here, you can see this is a straight edge, and I created that by just moving a square, or a cube I should say, to there, and then just moving it to the right shape. So I'll move it to about there, and now I'm just using the arrow key. I don't want it overhanging there, so I'll just move it in a bit. That's looking pretty good. I'll just change that to move it to where you like, and that's going to be our cat ears. But you can see already, oh, she's still a bit high. Important to look at every angle, so it was 5 millimeters. There we go. You can see that it's, while this is looking good for the start of my ears, it's gone into the center of the ring, which is no good for us. So let's select this. So before we used group, now we've got another feature available to us called ungroup. So let's ungroup that, and you can see it will revert back to that shape. That's really good. That's the good thing about TinkerCAD and computer-aided design. You can always go back and edit your steps. And all I'm going to do now is group these 3 different shapes I've created and redo that group with the third shape selected. Okay, so starting to look a bit more like my cat ring. I just need to subtract that shape in between the ears. So I'm going to go to the top view again and move this to here, and I will just pop that in like that. And remember, if you're subtracting, you need to turn it to a hole. Now, I could change the height of it, but it's not going to matter because it's a hole. So once we group it, we're not going to see it anyway. So group, and there you go. We have our cat ring already created. So that was just a few features like that, and we're ready to go. So let's start on this wave ring here. Now, I could start pulling out shapes again to start building up that ring, but I want to be as efficient as possible. I want to get this job done as quickly as possible. So I'm just going to select our cat ring and hit duplicate. And I'm just going to use my arrow key. I'm just going to bring it out. I might just use my mouse. It's taking too long. I'll change the color just so I can remember where it is. And now I'm going to say ungroup. Yep, so get rid of that one. And ungroup again. Get rid of that one. And I've already started my basic ring shape without having to start it up again. This one here, I might change the size of it, so I'll change that to 15. Remember to change it everywhere. But I'm going to change this one to 20 because this might be for someone with a smaller finger. Because remember, we're designing this ring for a particular person. And now, remember this hole here was slightly offset, so the fatter part of the ring was at the top. So we know how to position that. I'll just about there, I would say. Just draw my square to select both objects, and I'm going to hit group. Perfect. Now, I'm going to build this shape here. Remember, these are all basic shapes, so that will be made up just by another one of these. We made that 5 mils. You might make yours 3 or 4. Try not to go lower than 3. Now, I'm just going to push this across, and you can see I've made a bit of an oval. You can see I've made a bit of an oval shape, and I want it just coming off. Okay, that's looking good, but I don't want this side. I just want it to wave up to there. I don't want this side, so I'm going to put this shape here, and I'll move that down there, and I'll call that a hole. And I'll subtract this one just from the orange one. Sorry, make sure you get your selections right. And so group those two together, and you can see that I'm starting that wave shape here. Again, I've got this orange shape inside the middle, so we're going to have to ungroup the ring there. And now that I've got those 3 shapes that I like, I'm going to say group. And you can see we've got that shape there. Oh no, I had a bit of a curve here. So again, just using basic shapes. I'll just grab this one this time because it's already selected as a hole. And I'm going to try and do a little circle here, or cylinder, to carve out that gap. Now that is way too big at the moment, so I'll change that to about and I'll just zoom in a bit so it's a bit easier to see. Okay. And remember, just try some different shapes, and if you find it's not right, you can always go back and change it. So that's pretty close. So I'll draw a square over the whole lot, group, and you can see I've got that basic wave shape that I got over here as well. So there you go. There's a basic introduction to TinkerCAD. The main features that we used was the cylinder, the square, and we used them as both a solid shape and a hole. Once we had 2 shapes together, turn that one to a hole, we used, so I'll just select these 2, we used the group and the ungroup. Okay, so now that you've got the basic tools, I want you to play around, try and build a couple of different designs, and then find out the best shape for you for your 3D printing.